What up? What up? Mr. Manager here with yet another preview for our 2022 World Cup preview series. We just finished up Group A. Moving on now to the other teams playing today, we got Iran. Iran has a population of 85 million or so. They speak Persian there, and the capital is Tehran. They also have a really cool flag, in my opinion. So Iran has a pretty decent footballing history. They are making their sixth appearance, and in fact, in 2018, they were eliminated in the group stage. They are still dreaming of making it out of a group stage, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. They did win the 2007 Asian Cups, but other than that, not a lot of tournament wins to point to. Like I said, they've never made it out of the group stage, and honestly, when the groups were initially announced, I looked at this as a group that they could advance out of. In my first bracket, I had them advancing second after England. With everything going on back home in Iran, it's clearly going to be something that is going to affect the players. Several of them have spoken out in the media about it. With that whole situation, it's difficult to look at them and see them advancing for me at this point, but I am without a doubt going to be cheering for them to advance as long as the U.S. advances as well. So how do they qualify? They got first in Group A in Asian qualification. They played very, very well. In that group was also South Korea, another good team. And they're ranked 20th in the world at the moment. This is not a team to be overlooked. They have a lot of players that are playing in high level leagues. Let's get to some of those guys. First one we have here is Sardar Azmoun, who is a fantastic striker. He led Iran through qualification with 10 goals and 4 assists. He was playing in Russia for quite some time and made a move to Leverkusen recently, Bayer Leverkusen in Germany. And he was one of the first Iranian players to speak out in support of the protesters and in support of the women of Iran, who are at the center of those protests, clearly. And the government was actually pressuring the coach to not include Sardar in the team because he had already spoken out. Since then, several other players have spoken out. In fact, I just saw a second ago that their captain has made a statement, like an official statement at a press conference in Qatar supporting the protesters and Iranian women. Again, I don't want to focus too much on that aspect of Iran's story, but it's just impossible to ignore. Azmoun is definitely one of their best players, and unfortunately he's dealing with a knock at the moment, and it's unsure whether or not he will be available to start the tournament or not. Hopefully he is for Iran's sake. If he's not, the guy that's going to pick up the slack is another attacker named Mehdi Taremi. And he can play either as a striker like Azmoun or also on the left wing. This guy has been balling out in Portugal for what feels like forever. He plays for Porto, one of the best teams in Portugal, valued at 20 million euros at the age of 30. That's not a bad player. I've always felt like he was linked with teams in big leagues. I thought maybe he'd make a move to a bigger league at some point. Even like everyone in the world, he's been linked with Arsenal at some point. He's got European and Champions League experience. That's not to be overlooked. So this season for Porto, he has a combined 20 goals and assists in 19 games, and he has 5 goals and 2 assists in 5 Champions League games. So it shows that, Taremi is probably the closest thing Iran has to like a world-class player. The dude is good. Obviously, they'll be better if Azmoun is playing as well. But if not, Taremi can at least pick up some of that offensive load for him. Now, let's take a look at the back. So Hossein Kanani, who actually has like a longer version of his name that I'm not even going to try to pronounce, but Kanani was the way it was written in many places, is a 28-year-old center back. He plays for Al Ahly. He's valued at 2 million, not an incredibly valuable player, but he's going to be super, super, super important for this Iran team. This Iran team is not going to play in a particularly ambitious way. They are going to sit back. They're going to invite in a lot of pressure. And what that means is they're going to invite in a lot of crosses. And so he's been starting for Iran all throughout qualification. You can see that photo of him with the Iranian flag is them clinching qualification for this World Cup. And so I mentioned him because he's their best center defender. He does play at Al Ahly, Al Ali, but that actually is a picture of him, I believe, playing for Persepolis in Iran. I could not find a picture of Al Ali. And all of the pictures were either in Farsi or in Arabic, so I couldn't really figure out what team he's playing for. If anyone knows, let me know what kit that is. Anyways, Iran's going to be dealing with a ton of crosses, so you're going to hear his name a lot. You're also going to hear the goalkeeper's name a lot, which I'm going to do my best to pronounce it. The goalkeeper for Iran is Alireza Behranvand, which is an interesting Persian name. I've never heard anything like that. He's 30, plays for Persepolis, which is one of the best teams in Iran, valued at $1 million. He was playing for Iran during the 2018 World Cup, and he actually had quite a good World Cup. He allowed 2 goals over 3 games, so less than 1 goal per game. They played against some good teams, and even during that performance, he managed to save a penalty from Cristiano Ronaldo because they were playing Portugal in that tournament. Unfortunately, they didn't advance in that tournament, and they're definitely going to be looking to advance this year. Behranvand is one of the players with experience that will not be scared of playing at this level, and like I said, they're going to invite a lot of pressure, so you're going to hear his name a lot. If he can make some good saves, he will keep them in games, and then they will try to find that little moment of magic with Taremi or Azmoun up front. So they will qualify if, 1, Azmoun is healthy. That's a huge, 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 huge deal for them. 2, if England overlooks them in the opening match, right? So England playing against them, England the favorite to advance, one of the favorites in the group, that to me looks like a weirdly winnable game for Iran. Obviously they have so much distraction back home, but Wales and the USA are looking at Iran like equals, right? They're looking at Iran as a team that they, are competing with second for. England, if they're looking too far ahead, they might overlook Iran. So I could see them maybe getting a tie or a result out of that first match, which would help their advancement causes a lot, right? If they are able to get a point from England, then they go into good shape playing against those Wales USA teams that they feel they can beat. And they are going to go in against Wales and the US maybe more ambitious than they will against England, but they're still going to really have that compact defensive shape that's going to be difficult to break down. And if the US or Wales cannot do that, then Iran will get results against them. 1 win and 2 ties is enough to advance in a lot of cases. We'll see. We shall see. So let's take a look now at why you should root for them. And I'm going to go ahead and skip talking too much about the political situation in there, which is certainly a reason why I am rooting for Iran. Also because I have a very close friend of mine whose family's from Iran. He is an Iranian American. Love you, Mondo. He's actually in Qatar right now. Hopefully you get a chance to watch this video, bud. So why should we root for them? I am excited about the prospect of them getting to their first Sweet 16, right? They don't call it that in football, but the round of 16, the knockout round. They've never been out of a group stage. It's always cool to see teams achieve, milestones for the first time, especially a nation as big as Iran, where they really do care so much about football in that nation. It would be really special. Obviously, I don't know how glued to the TV people are back home in Iran with protests still going on. But I hope that if they are able to watch, or if they even want to watch these games, that the Iranian national team can provide them a bit of a distraction, a bit of a relief, and some joy and national pride, perhaps. Final reason we're going to talk about cheering for Iran is Ali Daei, the coolest player of all time, the former #1 all-time goal scorer. He was passed by Ronaldo just last year. So he finished his career with 109 goals and was surpassed by Cristiano in 2021, I believe. He's got this absolutely sick mustache, and I will say we're going to end it on a note of unity with the Iranian people in the sense that Dai was invited to go to the World Cup, to be there, the most famous Iranian player, to represent Iran, and he refused to, right? In case it hasn't been made clear, this is a former Iranian player. But he was going to go to Iran to represent the team, media events, whatever. And he released a statement where he said, and let me read it so I do not misquote him. I rejected the official invitation of FIFA and Qatar Football Federation to attend the World Cup with my wife and daughters. I prefer to be next to you in my homeland and express my sympathy with all the families who lost loved ones over these days. All right, so Ali Daei, heck of a player. Sounds like a good dude. Great mustache. Go Iran. I'll see y'all for the next video.